Okay, so welcome to Reclaim Your Power, Breaking the Chains of Sexual Trauma. I'm really excited about this masterclass this week. I'm Ann Hayes, aka Mama G, and I empower women through sacred sexuality to become fiercely fulfilled. And Lasheen, if you can hear me, and anyone who's watching the replay along with you, of course, is Sheen, is I was really strongly guided to do this because what I found on my own journey was that all trauma is challenging, and yet sexual trauma has its own it just needs a little bit something a little bit different. And I made some discoveries along my journey that literally made the difference for me in a big way. And I've been divinely guided to begin to share that with other women. And so as I can see, the screen is showing up interesting here, but it's all good. We're going to see everybody right now. And let me just talk about the whole video thing. I did share that in an email. However, I know that, and I did share it in the private Facebook group that I created specifically for this event. However, I know there's a lot of information out there, so it's not always seen, and that's good to go. So I'm just going to share right now the reason for that. First off, if you were not prepared for that, I apologize. And the second reason is for me, it's just building a community of trust and being able to see each other and know that, okay, who is this person? Who are they identifying? And like I said, it builds a sense of trust and a sense of safety, and it feels like we're protected in this sacred space. This is a private, this is a private meeting. I find it a very sacred space, and I've really done my best to surround it in that way and to protect it. So that's for me is personally important. So hopefully, Lashina, we'll get Lashina back, and we'll get Tracy Nicole back, and whoever else is meant to join today. So we're definitely going to connect in the chat in a moment, but I would like to do is just to give a quick overview, my intention for the week, and then talk about just the logistics. Okay. So I started to share that I've been guided to do this because I found specific needs for especially those who have experienced sexual trauma. Number one is that you really can't just focus on the mindset. There's a lot of mindset coaches, mindset practices, a lot of transformational leaders have been men in the recent past, or women who are kind of tapped into what I call a toxic masculinity. And it's just a lot of platitudes. And I am big on mindset. Let me tell you right now, I recognize the power of mindset and mindset practices. However, I do believe it's important to go through the point of entry for sexual trauma is through the physiology and through the body. And that automatically allows one to connect to the body and the mind and the spirit. Because without doing it that way, it's kind of like using mindset practices. It's like spraying perfume on cow dung. It's just a hot, smelly mess. So it's really not going to work. So that's the number one reason. The second discovery I made is that in healing trauma, we all need to feel as though we are being emotionally met. Oh, hey, just good to see you. Good to see you. Lovely to see you, the traveling energy shaman. I love how you just break that down, Mama. Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Welcome from Mexico. We get a Sheen here from Boston, Beantown. Yes, yes, yes. So we've started, but that's okay. There's a replay option. Totally respect that you like dipped out and came back in. And so we're going with this view. I guess that's how it's been divinely guided today. So we're good to go. So I'm just giving a quick intro as to why I've been guided to share what I'm sharing this week and moving forward. So being emotionally met, is something that is not typically does not typically happen with your basic mindset coaching. Is you've really got to, and you know what? I'm going to get into more of that more deeply in a little bit because I do want to make sure that we move along here. However, being emotionally met, let's just leave it at that. And going through the physiology as I mentioned, and here's the biggie right here. This is something I did not realize because I've invested close to $250,000. I kid you not. I have sold houses. I have sold the car. I have downsized. Everything I own fits in a piece of luggage. I have borrowed money. I've taken out my retirement. I've taken out loans. I've refinanced. And I've worked with over 50 healing modalities. I kid you not. and both business coaches as well. And I just wasn't getting the same results. And what was happening over time is that I was just starting to say to myself, what's wrong with me? Like, what am I not doing right? Do I not love myself enough? Because that's kind of the phrase that's out there. You got to love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you align with abundance and everything that's great in life. Except I'm watching these people who are making a ton of money, and I know they don't love themselves. I know they get some challenges. Lashina, so happy that you made it on, that you got the video going. We got some beautiful queens and sisters in the house here. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So I'm just giving an intro again of why I've been called to do this, divinely guided to do this. So let me get back to it. So what I realized was we're always on a self-love journey. It's ongoing. It never stops. Okay. Because when do you have enough self-love to be able to bring in abundance, to bring in the perfect relationship, be able to feel more deeply connected and experience that beautiful intimacy and just enjoy life in all the ways that it's meant to enjoy? I realized that the true power that we all have, especially as women, is in our sexual energy and the free flow of that sexual energy. You see, because the cervix is literally an energetic portal between the spiritual and the physical realms. And that is directly in line with manifestation. Manifestation literally means from spirit to physical form and matter. So sexual trauma or violation, what that does is it creates energetic walls and blocks. I kind of jumped in here, but it's all good to go. It creates energetic walls and blocks of resistance, which means that literally, no matter what you do, no matter how many manifestation practices you put into play, law of attraction, all that, you're laying it down, you get the universal laws and how they function. But if that free flow of sexual energy is not there, you're not going to quite get that full wow. This is like wow. You're not going to get that wow factor. That's what I realized. And once I started to heal that, and literally do what I call reclaim my sacred sexuality as a woman, as a divine feminine. We're all divine feminine here, embodying the divine feminine here. I just saw a change. I saw a huge step. I started to align into my purpose with more passion. It became so clear to me. And I honestly started to enjoy a lot more pleasure in a lot of different ways, including, and in the sexual way, okay? Because sex is pleasure and it should be absolutely pleasurable and we shouldn't be ashamed about talking about it, okay? So it's a little bit longer than I intended, but I'm just letting this flow the way that it's meant. And so my intention for this week overall is to literally have you all to continue to commit to your healing, especially around your sexual trauma, so that you can fully reclaim that sacred sexuality, so that you can start to open up literally to greater passion, to greater clarity in your purpose. A lot of you're already living in your purpose, okay? I know all of you living in your purpose, okay? But with greater passion, greater and greater alignment as we go, and pleasure, pleasure because there's always that next level pleasure. Let me tell you, blissed out, divine in the mix, and especially when we heal sexual trauma at the deepest layers, and it goes deep, let me tell you, okay, because I got some inner yoni work tools that I use. It just changes everything. I'm going to tell you right now, it changes everything, everything. And everybody on here, you're either here for research, you're here to support your clients already, or you're just ready to expand to that next level. And that's a beautiful thing. I've got some fire queens here. Like you're not just sitting on the couch twiddling your thumbs. You all are people I seen you and I know who are like out there and you're getting it done. Okay. So I honor you for that. That being said, what I like to do right now, I said I was going to mention logistics. I'm going to hold off on that because I really want to hear from you. I want to make sure that we connect in the chat, okay? And let's see. Right now, what I'd love you to do, number one, let's do this. Tell me where you're from originally and where you're living now. So that's a two-part answer. I don't know, Sheena, you may not be able to do that because you're driving. We don't want any trouble. Okay. But where are you from originally and where are you living now? And Lashina, I'm gonna allow you to unmute to share that very quickly.
Okay, sure. I'm originally from Haiti, and right now I live outside of Boston. I'm in that
Okay,
area.
sweet. All right, Lashina.
Originally from Montgomery, Alabama, and currently in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Okay, this is all really important. I'm going to tell you right now. I appreciate you sharing, and we might as well let's just keep going. Tracy Nicole, Mama, tell us. You got to unmute. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Oh, okay. There we go. I was trying to figure out the unmute button. I'm originally born in Indianapolis, Indiana, raised in Gary, Indiana, and I live in Mexico, Progreso, Mexico right now.
We've been moving around. We've been moving around. Okay. Love it, love it. Thank you for sharing, everybody. So I am originally from the United States of America, Boston, Massachusetts, in the Northeast. I've been living in Italy for 3.5 years, and I'm moving back to the States in 8 days. So I'll be back on the West Coast and eventually in Barbara, California. So yeah, the reason I ask is, first of all, it helps us to get to know each other a little bit, but also there is that part in there's different cultures in the way cultures view sex, okay, and sexual energy and different belief systems and the way that women in general are seen um, and treated, whether that's good, bad, or whatever. It's all belief and perspective. So it's really, really important for me to know that, okay? And second question is, what do you do for a calling? And what do you do if you could throw that? And actually, if it's okay, we can verbalize this since we got Lashina driving. So let's start with you, Lashine. We got another TF on the call, by the way.
Can
Miss,
you repeat
Miss,
the question again? What do I do for my
forgive me. What do
calling
you
and
do
what
for a
else?
calling? Or what do you do for work?
Oh, I am a twin flame coach and business coach. It goes hand in hand. And what was your second question there?
That was the same one.
Ah, okay, yes.
You're
I
good.
was definitely called to be a twin flame coach. And then I was shown every step of the way how it unfolded. Yes.
Love it. Is she out? She's out. I'm a twin flame. She's one of my coaches. There it is. Okay. What about you? Yeah, I know you're feeling it. Tracy Nicole, what about you?
Translate. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. I'm a twitch flame too. So okay. What do I do as a calling? I am an energy shaman. I'm a healer, and for business, I get paid to exist.
I love that, right? It's the vibrational frequency of fully embodying your divine femininity and the energy. Absolutely love that. Yes, there is power just in being who we are. Healing is the most powerful thing that anybody can do because it increases the vibrational frequency and acts like a tuning fork for others and activating others' healing. I love that you said that. Oh, because as divine feminines, right, with the dominant feminine energy, we are here to be predominantly be. We do too. That's our masculine energy when we balance it out. But we're here to be. Let's just be who we are. So, Lashina, what do you do down with Yessence?
Yes, with my yesence. I do professional development for individuals and teams to reach high performance. So I do consulting work.
Okay, I'm going to see if I could. She's been rebranding, but she works with high performance individuals, business people. So she's like a consultant. She's spent years in corporate, and yet she stepped out of corporate to do her own business, and she's really tapping into the feminine aspect, embodying the feminine aspect of business. Yes, did I get that right?
Yes.
Or yes, and saying yes to you, right? Okay, love that. Okay, so what I'd like to do is doing what I'm going to do every day. First, I'm going to share an affirmation for the week. I'm not going to give you one every day. I'm an affirmation queen if you know me. I'm about to publish my second book of affirmations, but I'm not going to like stress you out here. Okay. You don't need that. Okay. Because overwhelm can be an experience on this journey, the sense of overwhelm. So I'm going to give you that information. I'm going to drop that in that private Facebook group. I can also share it via email. And so we'll do that in a moment, but I'd like to begin with an opening prayer. And then I'm always going to end with a closing prayer. I'm also going to share a specific somatic healing technique each day, which means we're coming through the physiology. And we're going to geek out a little bit today, okay? And talk about the impact of sexual trauma in particular and how we can begin to heal. And then we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get to the yoni a little bit. We do the deep dive on the yoni in the paid classes, but we'll do a little bit here. So trust that you will get something a little extra juicy than you might not get on other calls or on other master classes. So, okay, with that being said, yeah. Oh, I know. Oh, I get a big yes. That's a yesence right there. Love it, love it, love it. I'm all for it. So here's my prayer. First of all, my intention that whatever is shared today is of the highest good and mutual benefit of all sentient beings. So I call in God, the presence of God, the Holy Spirit, and a legion of angels of the highest, purest light and intention to surround this sacred space with love, support, guidance, and protection. And I'm so grateful for the gift of your presence. And so it is. Okay. So here's the deal. I use God, big G-O-D. Okay. However, the divine source, one infinite creator, there are many names, love, the universe. It's all about the meaning behind it and the intention. They all carry the same vibrational frequency. Okay. So hopefully you're good to go with that. So that's our opening prayer. We're securing this very, very sacred space for us because we are queens and rock stars that are helping with the divine feminine awakening on this planet. We are needed. If you are here today, that's right. Hallelujah. Raise those hands because what we're doing is an important role. If you're here, you're already doing it. I know. Okay. And we have a very important role. So the more that we can heal that sexual trauma, the more we can step up, the more visible we are, the more abundance we receive so that we can serve in a greater and greater way. So let's talk about trauma and sexual trauma. What is trauma? Okay. Trauma, I think we pretty much know that. It's not what happened so much, it's the impact of what happened. Trauma is when our little perception of our reality and our world changes because of the experience that caused very painful emotions, all right, that weren't processed at the time. And so what happens is it changes the way we think, what we believe, the way we act, react. We know that anyone on this call already knows that. That is nothing new. Okay. What happens is if it is, okay, let me give an example of when a minor traumatic event happens and it's processed properly. Okay. Anything can be trauma, by the way, because if it creates an impact that is painful for you, it is trauma. So let us not diminish our trauma. Okay? Let's not diminish it because that's programming from society that diminishes it. We can't address it if we continue to diminish the trauma. Okay? So let's say, for example, a little girl falls on the playground, scrapes her knee, right? Let's say her mother's there or a primary caregiver, runs to the mother, sits on the mother's lap. The mother holds the child. Let's say it's a 7, 8-year-old child, kisses the boo-boo. Okay, you're okay, In that instance, the message that child gets, and I know not everyone experienced this, so I know not everyone experienced this kind of love and nurturing, okay? That child, the message that child gets, first of all, there's that bonding, the release of the oxytocin, feel-good hormone, being emotionally met, being nurtured the way that a caregiver is meant to nurture their child or the child that they are caring for. And so the child gets the message was, okay, I fell down, but it's all good. I got a backup. I got someone here who's loving on me and nurturing me. And now I can go back out and do what I'm just going to go and play some more. I'm good to go. Process done, gone. No trauma. However, especially with sexual trauma, okay, it's not like like I'm just going to say it's not like you're going to get raped and then you go to mom or daddy and they hold you. Oh, it's okay. Go back and play. I'm being facetious here, but it's real, right? So oftentimes sexual trauma it could be a family member or a close family friend, and it can show up in so many different ways. And when it is not processed, what happens is it does something to the nervous system. The nervous system will actually shut down a part of itself so that it doesn't burn down, so to speak. Literally, those painful emotions, when not processed, will get trapped in the body. And you may know some of this already. So I'm getting the nods. I know you because you're on this healing journey. So I know you know this stuff, okay? Trapped in the body. Trapped emotions over time create density, create mental illness, create disease. In fact, all disease, all mental illness is due to unhealed trauma. Okay. The thing with sexual trauma is that we've got to really go into that yoni. You know, it affects us everywhere. There's a lot. Oh, let me heal the heart. Very, very important. But the heart without healing that sacral is not enough. We got to bring those two together. We're going to do a little exercise this week where we actually bring those two centers together, those two energy centers together. Okay. So the idea of using physiology, somatic healing techniques such as energy healing, such as acupuncture, aromatherapy, emotional freedom technique. There were so many. We could just go on, is to come through the physiology. Is to come through the physiology first so that we can start to unfreeze, literally unblock and start to melt those dense energetic areas. Because I look at this, think about a cervix, right? You all have children here, right? You've all given birth. And it's all that thing. You go to the hospital and they're like, okay, you're dilated 2 centimeters, right? You get to 10 centimeters and that's boom, ready for that baby to come through. Here's the thing though. Think of like, if that's that energetic portal, that's where literally spirit comes into form. The baby, okay, boom, we've got a new physical being, right? Procreation, right? That dilation may either be slowed or not quite happen. It might end up as a C-section, or in my case, you just stalled for a while. And then, I had my first child vacuumed out because that is an energetic connection or result of trauma. So it's not fully functioning. So it's not unusual for a woman who has experienced any type of sexual trauma. And we're about to talk about how sexual trauma can show up. They're likely to have more challenges around giving birth. Think about it. Manifestation. Okay. It makes sense, right? It literally looks like a portal, doesn't it? When the cervix is opening up, if you can imagine that. And so that's why it's so important. So sexual trauma, what can it look like? The real obvious ones are like, okay, you were molested or abused as a child, you were raped, the neighbor's boy or the neighbor's babysitter, raped you, male, female raped you, or somebody looked at you wrong. They made comments that, were kind of crossed the line, sexual comments, making you feel uncomfortable in your body, touching you in a way that wasn't uncomfortable, leaving around, images, sexual images that maybe you weren't meant to see at a given age. That is sexual trauma. You can watch somebody else get raped, and that is sexual trauma. It's as if you are being raped yourself. You can also experience the generational imprint. Trauma leaves an imprint on the brain, body, spirit, and it actually gets transferred in the DNA. It's not just physiological, it's energetic in nature. And that's why they talk about healing generational curses. Okay. Is that you, for example, I have somebody, I know somebody whose mother was raped and had an abortion. And this woman has major challenges that look like the echoes of sexual trauma. She has carried on that sexual trauma because her mother has not healed it. She has not talked about it until recently. And this woman has had the challenge that you would expect around sexual trauma. So she's looking to heal that for her generational line, her ancestry. So, like I said, it doesn't have to be a direct impact. It can still affect you. Also, everyone here, because we know that we're all connected. There is a collective field. We have chosen, each and every one of us, I believe, to help to do our own healing so that we can also help to heal the collective. And so we're going to experience the collective trauma related to sexual misery programs. And that's something that I talk about, not in this masterclass. We won't go that deep, but we will talk about in my paid programs. I talk about the sexual misery programs. I know that Tracy Nicole, you're very much familiar with those. We've talked about that a lot. Okay, so let's not diminish the trauma that you believe you may or may not have experienced. If you're here for a reason. And I honor that. I honor this because this is co-created. It's not just about me. This is co-created 100%. Okay, so let's see what we got. I got my little cheat sheet. Okay, so what is your biggest struggle right now? Now, if you want to voice that, you can. If you feel better about just throwing that in the chat, do that. Like, what is your biggest struggle, your biggest challenge, your biggest concern right now?
My biggest concern, you've been talking about the cervix and the importance of it. And I have original sexual trauma from my biological mother. And at 38, so it led me to having extreme, issues, menstrual cycle, endometriosis, several surgeries. So I ended up having a hysterectomy at 38, and it was like, when I go back to that time, I literally I was just beginning to heal the mother wound. And what I did was I cut her out of me, if you can understand what I mean.
Yeah.
And it has left me, just left a part of me that doesn't feel like a woman. And I feel like I have to do more to create, because I took my portal out. So that's what, that's what I'm dealing with.
I love that you shared that. I love that you shared that. You see, we need to hear each other. This is how we learn. This is how we heal. Because here's the deal. And there's probably a sense of shame with that, I'm guessing. Shame, frustration. I don't know. I don't want to label that for you. Yet it's like you feel like you have to do a little bit extra to be that full woman, is what I'm hearing. Okay. And I get that. I'm going to tell you right now, and I know that you know this, I'm going to remind you that everything is energy. So even though that uterus has been physically cut out, because it's a physical representation of the energy remains. So you are healing, or have been healing, the energy of your womb. You don't need to have that physical structure to heal. You are every bit of a woman, right? Everything is energy. That the energetic imprint of that womb remains. You ever hear of that when, like, someone, if they have a limb amputated, it's as if that limb is still, that ghost limb is still there. It doesn't go away. In fact, the greatest power is in the energetic aspect of the womb. So that's something I would encourage you to remind yourself of every single day. That energetic womb, that imprint is there, and it's powerful. And as you continue to heal and move forward, that energetic power is just going to increase exponentially. It already has right now, just by you sharing that. And it's interesting that this is coming out this way because this is something I wanted us to be able to do today, is to share the pain connected to sexual trauma, because just sharing that, especially with others, pulls it out of the body, whatever pain is associated with that, helping it's part of the healing process, because you're being heard, you're being seen here, you're being heard, and you're being felt. I feel you. I feel you. I love that you shared that. So love that you shared that. Lasheen, what about you? Would you like to share? Let me see what we got in the chat here. Okay.
For myself, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. All right. Lashina, would you like me to share or not? It's in the chat. I don't need.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'll share it. So I really had to reflect when you asked that question. So what came up for me was just wondering how this is tied to my anxiety around having my voice heard. And I keep hearing, and we've talked about this, about my voice being heard. And it's just like this, it's almost as if I'll think about it in my head, but then when I actually go to do it, maybe it's alive, maybe it's, whatever. Not as much in person, actually, now that I say that out loud. But it's just this blockage of having my voice heard. And then the other part of it is the desires that I have. How is this impacting me suppressing getting things done? Like, there are very important things that I'm not being in integrity about. And it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just something like it's just dragging me to not do it.
So what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm hearing this correctly, is that you feel like sometimes you want to be able to use your voice, and you don't feel that you are actually using your voice when you feel that you need to in order to move forward in some way. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The voice is very directly connected to sexual trauma, because think about it, you have that vaginal opening, and then you have the opening of the mouth right here. There's a connection there. The other part of that, so it's not only a physical connection, it's an energetic connection. Yet there's a big aspect to the voice when somebody has experienced sexual trauma. Oftentimes they have either told themselves, I need to keep this a secret. They've been told that they keep it a secret. They feel that they could be further harmed in some way if they talk about it. Okay. And what does that do? That creates energetic blockages in the throat. If I speak up and I use my voice and I step into my power with my authentic voice, I could be harmed, or I could be hurt, or even worse, I could die. I know for in my situation, it was like the threat of death if I spoke up. And then on top of that, as a young adult, when I shared my sexual trauma, I was not believed. It was like the anger was turned on me, like, how dare I say such a thing? And so, my sexual trauma involved, and I'll share as well, involved a close family member. Fortunately, they didn't live in the house. It was only about once a week, but it was torture. So I was told I died every single time. And
It looks like you
involved
froze
the
again.
throat. It involved the throat. So I get that 100%, because your mind is telling you, hey, I know you. You all like super gifted and talented, right? You're like rock stars, right? But it's something in there, and it could even be unconscious, that says it is not safe to use your voice. You could die, literally. And so just having that awareness helps, and yet it's also a process. So as you heal the sexual trauma, and there is the focus on that yoni, okay, there is mindset, there is the throat, there is the heart, they're all connected. All this, it's an ecosystem, our body. However, let's get right in there and let's talk about sex. Let's talk about the trauma. Let's release the shame around it. Because why? It's bad enough to experience the sexual trauma, but then to experience shame on top of it because you're not showing up in life the way that you believe you're meant to, and you're comparing yourself to others and you're judging yourself, and then you got to deal with the whole thing if you're like me, am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I woman enough? And then it's societal shame on top of it. I mean, there's so much that we could cover here. There's so much. But I'm going to tell you right now, darling, healing the sexual trauma, what it does is it'll increase the frequency of what is known as the vagal tone, which is a major vagus nerve that goes all the way from the brain down into the large intestine. So it goes right through that yoni, right through the throat. It's all connected, except all the coaches that you've probably worked with up until this point, like it was like me, didn't know about that. You were just spraying perfume on cow dung, still a hot, smelly mess. Okay. So appreciate that. So appreciate that, you sharing that, Lashina. There really is a connection. The beauty is it can be healed. It is not your fault. It's not your fault. It is neural pathways that have been developed because of the trauma. You froze? Are you hearing me? You cannot control that unless it's healed. What happens is those neural pathways over time with the healing, they atrophy as new ones are created. The other ones atrophy. It is biological. You can't control it. It's not your fault. And that's what we haven't been told. And I'm going to share this. I'm going to come right out the gate. This is a replay. I was 45 years old, driving Uber. And I know you know this, Asheen, and you may as well. You may all know, but I'm going to repeat. I was driving Uber, and I was looking for a friend with benefits. I'm not going to lie. Okay, I was looking for a friend with benefits at the time. I'm just going to be honest. Driving Uber, gentleman gets into the front seat. My body right away said, no, you don't belong in the front seat. Okay, this is a ride that I had picked up. Yet it was like I went into freeze mode. I couldn't speak. It was like I didn't speak. And so he violated the first boundary right there. Let's just say I ended up giving him a blowjob. Okay, let's just get real. Do you think I wanted to? No, ultimately not really, but I felt like, and he wasn't aggressive or mean. But yet, how did that happen? It's kind of like a woman who gets abused by a partner and goes back to the partner. There's a lot more to it, but there is neurology involved. There's a physiological aspect where your body as a mechanism is going to automatically respond in a certain way because of the trauma until it is healed to a certain point where you're able to use your voice and establish more firm boundaries, where you're able to respond when you get that alert that says, this is not okay. So I'm just sharing that because I get it. I get it. I don't know. I just feel guided to share that. So yeah, the voice is definitely a part of it. So Asheen, would you rather just
I can say it now, yeah. And so what I've been working through is overcoming money trauma. There was a moment where money was flowing, everything was great. And just like any part of the twin flame journey, it's like these moments are great, then it gets taken away. So all your trauma gets pushed up. And so that's what I've been going through. And you mentioned it being tied to sexual trauma. So I said, I really want to hear that connection there. And also just healing cheating in my family's lineage. And I grew up and it was part of the culture. Hopefully it's changing. It's the culture where cheating is acceptable. That's what I was around. And for many years, I was like, I don't accept this. I don't accept this. And it was a part of my life because of the root of it. And so I've worked through that, and the universe has been really wonderful, showing me all kinds of ways to use my voice, use to keep this kind of stuff out of my life, which is really great. There's still sometimes in the back of my mind, even though everything is unfolding well with the universe, there's still that sits in the back of my mind, like, how does this all relate? how to heal from that. And I know we can't fully control others and that kind of stuff, but it is something deep down within myself where I'm like, that's just not acceptable by me. And then using my voice to really be like, it's not acceptable.
Oh,
And making that clear. Yeah. So those are the two things.
I love that. Is money, first of all, manifesting anything is going to be more of a challenge when there is unhealed, especially sexual trauma, because sexual energy is the creative life force of the energy. God created all that is, I believe, using sexual energy. Think about it. Procreation. Babies are made through sexual energy. Manifestation is all about sexual energy. Creation is sexual energy. So if there's resistance in any way energetically, no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to, and I know this from personal experience, there's going to be an ebb and a flow. And if I can speak for myself personally, what it did over time, because I saw all my, and I know you all relate, all the skills I had, all the talents, all the money I invested, how hard I worked. And I'm watching everybody else around me find the perfect relationship, or so it seems, or, make $1 million, or just this or that, just flow in abundance and ease. So, number one, that's their role. That's a divine template. Okay. You chose a different divine template. You chose this on some level because you wanted to be able to evolve at a level, or serve at a level that's a little bit more visible, and a little bit, it just is a different level of service. So honor yourselves for that, because if you weren't going through this challenge, you're not going to be able to turn around and help others through the challenge. Okay, which is ultimately to remove these sexual misery programs, to help to heal sex, to help us all embrace as females sacred sexuality, which is our power. We are here as sex alchemists. We teach through the body sensuality. We actually heal through sex. That's what a woman does. That's what the woman has the ability to do. We are very powerful. Except what's happened is we've been suppressed, and then on top of it, raped, violated, traumatized, cheated on, introduced to things that we probably shouldn't have been introduced to at certain points. And it has repressed our ability as a collective to be able to show up in the way that we are meant to show up. The good news is that we're healing, and we're showing up, and we're recognizing the power of our sexual energy. Women, we teach you the body. That's why if you look at the Middle East, and they're all doing belly dancing, every single move is a mantra. It carries a vibrational frequency, which activates healing in anybody who's watching, especially men. Men teach you the intellect and the mind. Let them do the mindset. Okay. We teach you the body. This is why we've been given the bodies that we've been given. Okay. They're all beautiful. Okay. But we have a more flow nature. Okay. Typically. Okay. We got, whatever we got, So I got a little off track there. You mentioned the money thing and also the cheating. The cheating involves sexual energy. And already if it's in the culture, it's in the DNA of the culture. And it's also very common within Latin American culture is the cheating. You gotta be you gotta be a man, and if there are men cheating, there are women cheating too. Because who are the men having the sex with? Okay. And we could keep going. We could talk about societal shame, but let me just make sure wow, okay. Oh wow, yeah. Are we okay in the time if we take a little bit more time today, or okay, all right. Lashina, you good? Tracy? Okay, you good?
I'll have to catch the replay
Okay.
because I have to jump to a meeting.
All right, no problem, darling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we're almost on that 5 o'clock hour here, which is well, it depends on where you are. Anyways, okay, societal change. I'm just going to say quickly, okay, if you're a woman of color, okay, if you're a woman who's from, like a place like Haiti, like you are, if you're a woman who's from the islands, if you're from certain places in Africa, or just from the South in the United States, there are certain attitudes you know, and I know when I was living in Tampa, it was like big, black and beautiful. Okay, was great. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm not big and I'm not black. I'm wondering if I'm beautiful. Okay. On the other side of it, I'm just being real. Okay. Is that, you know, woman, okay, you know, if a woman of color is expected to have a big booty or this or that, and it's like you have to, you're too dark, you're too light, you whatever. There's just so many crazy programs that as women that we need to overcome and transcend. And so the beauty of coming together and being able to talk and share openly with our struggles and our challenges is a really critical step in the healing process. Because first we learn from each other, we get these little insights and we're like, okay, maybe that's what it is. And we bridge gaps. We bridge gaps and we help to heal each other. So to me, that's a beautiful thing, a beautiful thing. Now, I wanted to introduce a grounding technique. However, it's probably going to take we probably need another 15 minutes. So I need to know I can do that tomorrow too. I want to know where you're at with that. Okay, you're good. I know, Lashina, you may need to pop off. Okay, and Tracy Nicole. Bill and Tracy Nicole, what about you?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm always on Zoom, so that's what I have it on there. I'm good. Can I share something real quick? When you mentioned about the Uber, let me lower my voice.
I know your son's out there. Go ahead. We can't hear you.
Here, but I recently, little like 2 weeks ago, I think I might have been covering up the mic too. Is that better?
Yes.
Is that better? Okay. Like 2 weeks ago, something came up on memory, and it was like encompassing several memories, but it was a certain thing that I did. When I was 16, my dad got custody of me, and it was a really long custody battle, but I left my mother and her husband. And when I got to Georgia at 16, I became a hoe,
Okay.
straight up.
Okay.
I was just going around sleeping with guys, and I didn't know why.
Mm.
Secretly, and like I had like somebody that I liked, and we talked to each other openly. At one point, I had a boyfriend in high school. We talked openly, but there was something that I was doing behind, and no one ever knew. And I was sleeping with multiple guys.
Yeah. 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 Hypersexuality. It's yeah.
And I didn't know why. And I'm going to be learning why this week. But like when you said that, I was like, but not like out of what you did, but like out of, oh my God, I'm not by myself.
Nope. Nope, not at all. And that's not at all. And that's why I share this. I'm going to guarantee you that any woman who shows up this week has been there, has been there. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And like I said, it's just echoes of the trauma. And a lot, if it's like me, I know I shamed myself for a long time. And that's part of the healing, is that we shame ourselves for the echoes of the trauma, you know? So yeah, yeah. So
And
it's
I've never shared that.
okay.
Never.
Isn't that liberating?
Man, yeah.
Because right? This is
I'm in
how
a safe space.
we're in a safe space. This is how we heal. All right, so let's
I
see if
I
we
had a
go ahead.
similar moment in my life too, to share that. I think I was in my 20s in that kind of stuff. And during that time, I just felt like men didn't appreciate me for my mind. So why bother? And stuff like that. Went through a similar, yes. So thanks for opening up about that,
Yeah, I
Tracy.
love it. Wow, I love it. Love it. See, one opens up, we all open, right? Love it, love it, love it. Yeah. We don't want to be objectified, right? Because literally we were objectified, right? At some point. And we don't know how to be other than be objectified to get that love. Anyways, so appreciate the share so much. Wow, I'm loving this. So I think I'm going to go with it's called ultimately what's really important in healing, especially sexual trauma, is being able to reconnect and reassociate with the body. Because what happens is we tend to cut ourselves off. We end up all in our head, all these thoughts, all these belief systems. We get anxious. I know that Lashina mentioned the anxiety. I forgot to address that. And we move real fast, we get distracted, we escape ourselves, we escape, it's called escapism, right? And we distract ourselves, and because we don't want to feel the emotions. When we settle into the body and come out of the head, come out of the stories, we've got to feel it, and it can be very uncomfortable. That's why somatic healing techniques, which focus on the body, are so important. Being present. So what I'm going to share with you now, it's just something really brief we'll do, checking in with the body, and then something that if you feel inclined, you can do during the week as a daily practice. Again, it's optional. I don't want to stress anyone out, but the idea is to slowly do more to reconnect. Okay. And to reconnect, we've got to ground. Grounding is about coming back into the body, getting out of the head. So, let's see, like conscious breathing. So what, okay, I have my little notes here. Okay. So this is a real simple. We're going to start with some belly breaths. We're going to take 3. So I'm going to ask you to put one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. And the reason I'm asking you to do that is because I really want you to feel the breath and what the breath is doing. Okay. And it's also just, you're kind of nurturing yourself that way. So on the inhale, you're going to go through your nose. And that belly should expand because the diaphragm, as air comes in, pushes down on the belly and pushes it out. You're going to exhale through the mouth, but it's just going to be a very gentle with the lips slightly open. Okay. This breathing, conscious breathing, helps to ground us. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It automatically calms us. It makes us present. So we're not in the past and we're not in the future, and we feel safe. Okay, we feel safe when we're present because we can look around and we see we're good to go, right? So let's do 3 of those breaths right now, okay? So we're going to inhale on a 4 count. Exhale. A brief pause. Inhale, good, right to the belly. Exhale. One more deep belly breath. Inhale on a 4 count. Exhale. And come back to yourself. What I'd like you to do, if your eyes are already closed, keep them closed. If they're not, if you could close them. And what I'd like you to do is just do a quick scan of your body. Like you just kind of check in. So to see if you can make a note of any physical sensations. Maybe, is there any tightness? Do you feel cold, hot? Is there any soreness or stiffness anywhere? Or do you just feel completely relaxed? How's the belly feeling? How's the neck feeling, the throat? Would there be a headache, some congestion? So again, just focusing on the bodily sensations. We're obviously looking for areas of discomfort. And just make a mental note of that discomfort. And then what I'd like you to do is to put your attention on one area of discomfort that's really causing you the greatest discomfort at this moment. And I'd like you to ask your body, what is this about? What emotion is connected to this sensation, to this feeling. Some emotions include, the basic emotions are anger, shame, joy, calm, passion, hurt, pain. Start with those. Joy. Can mention that. And just sit with that. If you don't get anything, that's okay too. It might be numbness. That's a legitimate feeling, which is simply absence of feeling. There's no right or wrong. Just sit with that a little bit. Breathe into that. Okay, when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And if you started to tear up, that's a good thing. Or maybe you're just tired. But if you started to tear up, that's because you settled into your body. Your body holds the wisdom, your body holds the emotions. And it's your body, not your mind, that releases pain. And if you do it here, it's because you're being witnessed. There is great power in that. Knowing that you're not alone. You're not alone. And you don't need to heal alone. You don't need to do it alone, like I once thought I needed to do. There's power in that. And so I'm going to share first, just to give you an idea of how this may look, and you can either choose to share or not. But for me, I felt a slight tightness in the chest. And I felt fear. I felt fear. And it's because of what I'm talking about. It's because of how I believe I'm meant to show up. And yet I'm pushing through that fear because I'm here right now. I'm here right now. Would anybody like to share in the chat or just need a little more time?
I'll share. I'm super teary-eyed. I've been very grateful since meeting you. Been really grateful meeting you. And because for a really long time, this was one area that I didn't really go into with myself. And I had prayed to God to please help me find someone who I can connect with and heal this aspect, this part of myself. And so during this moment, I just felt really relaxed, overjoyed. It was like a part of me was just overjoyed because we're doing this. And it just felt like it was like a releasing moment. Also, I was being super um thankful for the journey I've been on because when I first started healing, it was like, don't look at me, don't go there. I don't
Yeah.
want to be seen. There was a part of me that didn't want to be seen, and I've come such a long way where I'm I'm letting myself be seen, even being in here and opening up and just allowing myself to be seen has been really amazing and transformational. So thank you so much for this, Anne.
Thank you. And I think I need to say that she's my twin flame coach. And so we all have our field of expertise and wisdom and experience, and we support each other on this journey. And if it were not for Asheen, I probably wouldn't be here doing this right now. That's how important she's been on my journey. So I just feel like I need to share that. I love that you're able to share the joy that you're feeling because this is happening and your prayers have been answered. Those who were here on this call today are ready to be seen and witnessed. And that's beautiful because that's how we step into our full queen energy. Would you like to share, Miss Tracy?
Well, I got interrupted, and so but my house guest is finally gone. Her ride was late, so I got interrupted. But I got interrupted just as we were assessing. But it's something I've been working on here for the last month. And you said when you talked earlier about the connection with the vagus and the sacral, I think I've been dealing with vagus nerve issues. And so what's happening is I keep getting this, it's like the muscle tightens up back here. Some things, I don't know if it's the muscle, the nerve is causing a pain. I don't know what it is, but it causes this thing that literally comes like down here on my right to the shoulder. But then it like kind of, it doesn't go across my throat like here. It comes around right here in the center of the collarbone and it like squeezes, you know. um um I'm just grateful that you stepped into this. I didn't, of course I joined because I want to support you, but I didn't join because I want to support you because I'm very conscious about my healing. And so you don't just step into stuff just because, you know what I'm saying? If I wanted to just support you, okay, just pass it along. You know what I mean? Like share it. But no, I'm here because I felt that this is what I need. This is what I needed.
Yeah.
And I've had different offerings of different healing, different healing modalities, but they weren't like, no, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm beyond that one. I'm beyond that one. I'm beyond that one. I need something a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
and so some of these things have been kind of coming to me, but one of the things is that like when Sheena was talking about, speaking up and being seen, it's just because it's me, my personality, or maybe it was what I was programmed to do. I think it was more so what I was programmed to do. Maybe 80% what I was programmed to do, and 20% just the fiery personality of who I am, brave and courageous, right? But I forced myself through.
Yeah.
I forced myself through. I forced myself, and I'm tired of forcing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not meant to. Yeah. Yeah.
And it just, it seems like, I don't know, it's just that it all connects. It connects back to what I shared earlier, about having to do more to like heal myself. Like that's how I feel. Like I just gotta keep doing something like it's just like I don't understand why it's so hard when I have the desire and the will and I'm doing this fucking thing and I'm doing it. I've been doing it for 20 years as of yesterday.
Yeah.
I started this intentional healing journey at 30.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a twin flame journey right there. That's intense trauma that's got deeper and deeper layers. And
Oh man.
I just feel inclined to share right now because I know that there are likely twin flames. I know there will be twin flames who will watch the replay. I know for a fact. Okay. And and especially if you're what I call the first wave of ascension, which is millennial and older. I believe that we've chosen to come in and really get deep into the belly of the beast and take on a lot of trauma, as our role so that we could heal intense trauma, which is why even whether we're in physical reunion or not, we're still dealing with some major stuff and other layers that we're unpacking as a way to elevate all the collective consciousness and assist in the awakening. So I feel that right there with you. Been at it for a real, real long time. I'm sure Rasheen, me, and I know Lashina for sure. and that's one of the reasons, I feel so divinely called to do this, and I'm so passionate about it because there's so much shame around it. Why does it take so long? Right? And that's okay. That's part of the journey because we've learned an awful lot along the journey, but it's time to dig in. And in my paid mastermind, we get inside that cervix and we start doing some stuff in there. And you think you get tears doing this? Trust me, we get in there, we get our little G spot, crystal wand, whatever. Trust me, it's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff, and it needs to be mainstream. And I think it will be. Okay, we are literally initiates in sacred sexuality. We're here to alchemize through our sexual energy, not just through our twin flame, because a lot of different ways that sexual energy can show up. So I love that you shared that. And I could go in very quickly. You mentioned here, there's burden there. Anything with the shoulders is about burden, taking on a lot of responsibility. I know you a little bit about your story and you got kids and this and that, and you were healing a lot of, ancestral curses. You've been tortured. You cannot use another word for what you've been through. And I'm here for the heavy hitters. Twin flames.
I met this.
And then some. That includes anybody, with twin flame or not. The one showing up here, those are the heavy hitters. We're gonna get this.
I met this gentleman, and we were having this, what I thought was a higher level conversation, momentarily, till he said certain things. But he said something to me. We were talking about femininity and things of that nature, and we were, talking about growing up or whatever. And he looks at me and he says, "Well, you're feminine enough for me."
Oh man.
And I was like, feminine enough? Excuse you, but that brought up, because you were talking about the burden. This is my right side, my masculine. And I've really been trying to come into my soft era where I'm creating it for myself, because I ain't got no man to create it for me. And I don't want that. I want to create it for myself. You know what I mean? So it's the masculine side that all this is coming from. And then it literally, like I said, it comes down and it goes this way towards the feminine.
You see, you
have the squeeze.
Yeah. You have this. So we definitely gonna that's something we all dig into. But I want in the interest of time. This is beautiful, by the way. I'd like to wrap this up, and I'd like just to share a few logistics here for anyone here and anyone watching the replay. Is that I will ask that you have your video on. I do think it makes a difference when we're sharing, and I love that we ended up just sharing. We went from the chat to like really opening up, which is a beautiful thing. Because again, as I've mentioned, an important part of the healing process. So logistically, it's every single day this week at the same time. Okay. 10 o'clock Eastern, New York City time. I've also in the chat on Messenger, there's a Messenger chat for those who are on Facebook, where I actually broke down the time zones depending on where you are in the world. I try to figure out where people are. And I'm going to be putting those replays in the private Facebook group. I'll also be emailing those because not everybody wants to be in that group, and that's okay. It is optional. There is no stress here. There is no judgment. It's wherever you feel comfortable. I'm going to be dropping a link to the song of the day, okay, to tap into the queen energy. I'm going to also drop in that affirmation. Did we do the affirmation? Oh, okay. Let's do this so we can wrap this up very quickly. The homework. Wait, no, not homework. I call it inspired action. If you opt to or not, nothing. We don't do homework. I don't do homework. Okay. So is to simply do that check-in that we just did, where you're reconnecting to the body, feeling the sensation and the emotion connected to it. I actually I generated a PDF, which is under the file section in the private Facebook group. I will also share a link to that in an email for everybody, along with the song of the week, the replay. And what else was there? There's a messenger chat, there's a private Facebook group, there's the email, and I think that's it. So let's do that affirmation, and then let's do that closing prayer. Fair enough? Okay, so here's that affirmation. And again, let's see if I can remember. I wrote it down. I release all pain all grief, all entangled sexual energies with ease. I am open to receive all the blessings that the divine has for my life in the most fiercely fulfilled and joyously abundant way. There it is. Okay. So that's something that I'm going to suggest to offer, that you can repeat yourself as often as you want every day this week or moving forward. There's just one affirmation for the week. Let's keep it simple. And if you can actually say it in the mirror, hold your hand on your heart. Maybe you say it to your yoni, okay? Because we're working as a team here. But that's the affirmation that I was guided to share for this week. So that closing prayer. Here's that closing prayer, and then we'll finish this up. This session is complete. I'd like to thank God for the support of you and your team and allowing this group of women to heal in the most significant way that is readily recognizable for all involved. We thank you for the increased awareness and for helping to create this sacred space. And so it is. There it is. Okay. So you all have a beautiful day or evening wherever you are. I so appreciate you showing up, being committed to yourself, for being vulnerable, and for sharing. And tomorrow we'll dig in just a little bit more. How's that? We're going to focus on how you can support your own healing even beyond what you've already done. You may already be doing it, but I want to make sure that I include that piece the way that I've been guided. All right. You all have a beautiful day, evening, and thank you again.
You
Can
too.
you send
Thank
the
you.
affirmation?
The affirmation, what about it?
Can you send it?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Much love.
Bye.
Un bacione.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.